Afternoon, everyone. Just want to welcome you all to this afternoon's professional development training. This is Alicia Alvis, Federal Program Specialist that works with the 21st Century Grant. Just want to welcome you. If you would, go ahead on and put your site's name and your name into the chat so that we can see who all is in attendance for this particular training. And while you're doing that, we just want to let you know that this training is going to be really good because it's planning for continuous improvement, as we have to make sure that that is what is going on with our grants, using our funds and collaborating with our schools in which we are servicing the students. And so while you're doing that, we're going to give you about a few more seconds to do that, and then we'll be ready to get started. Happy Love Day to everyone. I do hope that you have had a fantastic Valentine's Day so far. And one of the things I love about love is that it's actually an action word. It's not a feeling. It really is an action word. And so I hope you've had a great day and get a chance to spend some more time with your family or your special loved one this evening to extend out into the Love Day, Valentine's Day. So today we're happy to say that we have two representatives for Youth. That will be Shanika Peak and Yana List coming from for us to talk to us about planning for continuous improvement. They're going to provide some training on how that looks, what are some things that we can do in order to make sure that that is taking place, because that's the whole idea for having the grant from the very beginning. So without any further delay, I don't want to take up your time. I'm going to hand it over to these beautiful ladies and go ahead on, and we're ready to start our training. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. We're going to go ahead and get started with a disclaimer from the U.S. Department of Education.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number ED ESE 14D0008 with Synergy Enterprises Incorporated. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, methodology, technique, or enterprise mentioned here is intended or should be inferred.
All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. As it was mentioned before, we're focused on continuous improvement. A lot of the tools that we will refer to today will be sent to you in our handout. And I'll just go ahead and share that in the chat with you right now. But a lot of these tools and strategies that we'll refer to is also found on our website. So whenever you do get a chance, please feel free to make your way over to the website and just explore a little bit. We have tons of tools that you can use there. All right, I just shared it in the chat. So what I'll do is briefly introduce myself, and Yana, she should be rejoining us. She's having a little technical difficulties, but no worries. That's something that we're all used to by now. I'm Shanika Peck. I'm the lead education specialist for the Y4Y Technical Assistance Team. And this is a very special moment in the year because a lot of people are doing a lot of different types of monitoring, but also we're doing a lot of reflection as we begin to prepare for any summer programming that's coming up this year. So I'm really excited. And once Yana joins us, she'll go ahead and introduce herself. All right, as I mentioned before, a lot of the tools and the items that we'll refer to can be found on our website, y4y.ed.gov. And of course, it's all free. right? A lot of these tools you can download and customize it so it can fit the needs of your program. So what we'll do today is we'll review the continuous improvement process and apply it to our program's needs. And of course, we'll go ahead and mention the tools as we're using it throughout the session today. A lot of the tools can be used for assessment, implementation, and analysis of your program. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the why, right? So first reason is for compliance and integrity. So Congress has mandated program evaluation as a means of us achieving our goals and objectives for the grant, right? So if we are looking to improve student outcomes on state literacy and math assessment, we should have some data around supporting that goal. We're also focused on the federal requirement for self-evaluation because that's what is addressed in our grant. And when we say self-evaluation, we're self-evaluating, we are thinking about creating some accountability for ourselves. And, as I mentioned before, it's a condition in your grant. But most importantly, we're looking for ways to improve our programming. So collecting data and analyzing it and using it to make data-informed decisions for our program. And then, of course, we're definitely going to, we like to use it to share our best practices. We also use data to tell our program stories. So this is definitely really important. And when we begin to use that continuous improvement cycle process, we really want to start with what a good evaluation is, right? So that's where we're asking strong questions. So we're thinking about, what is your goal, the indicator and the measurement of success for your program. And a lot of good evaluations, they're never ending, right? They're continuous. It happens over and over and over again. And I know a lot of programs are probably in different places when it comes to this continuous process. So just ensure that you have a solid a program planning team, or people who are really good at data that can assist with the collection and analysis. And as I mentioned before, Y4Y has a ton of resources and tools that you can use to help you, right? We may have a team that isn't so good with data, but we can definitely learn different ways to use it. All right, so it will be great to hear from you all in the chat. If you are familiar with the continuous improvement process, you can let us know about your experience with it in the chat. If you are comfortable enough, there's just 17 people online right now. If you're comfortable enough, you can definitely share your experience or your understanding of this process. But I do want you guys to keep track of the different steps in the continuous process. Right? When we first begin, we start with the pre-work, right? So we're taking that pre-existing data to help us start out with that first step, which is define. And then once we define different parts of our data collection and improvement process, we're thinking about how we are implementing with fidelity. And of course, it goes on from there, right? We're collecting data, we're analyzing. And of course, if we're collecting data, we got to figure out how we're going to improve our program. Double check. Yana's back. Thank you so much. Yes. So again, a lot of the tools that we're going to refer to will be in that handout. All right. So again, if you'd like to share, your experience with the continuous improvement process, feel free to leave it in the chat. But what we're going to do is focus on that pre-work, because that is going to be really important as we start our continuous improvement process. So you're thinking about 4 questions. What data do I have? What is the data saying? What's the vision and mission of our program? And what's the priority? So the purpose of the pre-work is to determine our focus, right? There may be a lot of things that will pop up from our data collection, but we really want to make sure that we are focused on our program's areas of need and what requires most of our immediate attention. So again, these 4 questions can definitely help you with focusing what your program needs. So we'll start with the first one, right? What data do I have? And again, with our pre-work, we're using data that's already made available to us. So we typically use 3 pots of data. We have our school level data, student level data, and our student voice. Our school level data, this may be state assessments or the department's website for a report card so that you can see the trends throughout the years. You may be using any teacher reports or progress monitoring on any interventions in the classroom or the school day to support your student level data. And of course, we also need to use our student voice, right? So any interest surveys that you may have, you want to use it. Now, all three data sets are really critical when it comes to thinking about what activities you will use to address any needs or to make sure you are providing this in your 21st CCLC program. And if you need any assistance with these types of data and collecting it to inform your needs assessment, we also have a tool called Conducting Your Program Needs Assessment that is also available to you in the handout that both Yana and I shared. So let's think about program data, because sometimes, we can find the school level and school level data online. We may have a partnership with the school day to get more feedback on student level data, but sometimes that isn't readily available for us. So we have to do some extra planning, right? So for your program, you may be using these common forms of data to help you out. You may be using pre-test or post-test. You can also use different observation checklists in your program, whether it's focused on activities or maybe it's focused on how your staff is adhering to what should be implemented. You may be using rubrics, right? Student rubrics at that to inform your student level data. You may be using surveys and of course the data around required data and monitoring from your state. So what we'll do is take a moment to think about what data we currently have today. Using your annotation tool, go ahead and indicate what types of data you have at this moment. And we have different categories of data that we can pull from. We have academic data, family engagement, college and career readiness, and partnerships. If you notice, we have this last column here empty. So if you would like to add a column here and share what data you currently have, please feel free to do so. Ooh. If you can't annotate, please drop it in the chat. So anyone would like to share what kind of data you have in terms of academics, whether it be school level, student level, or student voice? You're also thinking about family engagement on all three levels. Now, it's not written there, but I'm also thinking about attendance, right? Do we have any data on attendance? Are we focused on the hours that students are spending in our program versus days? Awesome. Report cards, absolutely. I've seen programs have report card parties where they have students and families bring in report cards and they discuss what they are seeing and talk about next step goals. All right, some people are using STAR scores and SIR reports. Awesome. So as you are taking a look at what's currently being collected, it's also important for you to think about your plan to do with this data, right? What are we going to do with all of this information? How are you going to implement it in our continuous improvement process? And you may also be thinking about, well, is there anything that the data isn't telling me, right? So are there any program areas where you're missing data? And if so, again, we have a lot of different tools that you can use from the website, such as surveys, needs assessments to help you with assessing your program. So for example, we have surveys for staff, students, and families, and it's sprinkled throughout all of the, actually several content areas. So in this case, I'm thinking about summer learning because summer's coming up. I'm in the process of thinking about what was done last year and how I can improve this upcoming summer. So of course, we have surveys around summer planning, summer learning, citizen science. There's also surveys focused on STEM for kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. You may be thinking about different surveys for families, right? How are you getting families to understand your program and their role in family engagement? We also have tools around needs assessment. We have a couple of tools geared towards assessment, again, specific to those different content areas. So again, we're talking about summer learning. It may be continuous education that also reviews the continuous improvement process. And of course, if your program is focused on that social and emotional component, we also have a tool to fit those needs. And we also offer tools for assessing a particular component of your program. So if you're focused on college and career readiness or career exploration and STEM, we also have that there. And as I mentioned before, I dropped the link in the chat earlier with this handout with a long list of different tools that you can use. It's also categorized based on the content, just to get you started. And of course, there's tons more on the website. But as we, collect this data, we're thinking about what this data is actually saying. So we have a list of look fors, right? When we review our data, we generally look for 4 different things: highest area of need. Is there any area where that requires more attention, or an area where a lot of schools are using intervention to address that need? We're also thinking about the data and our organization's current focus. Is there any data around supports or observations of these supports in your program? Because again, we're using this data to help us prioritize what we should be looking at or what we should improve as we move along in this continuous improvement process. All right, so we're going to take the look fors and practice them. So this is a quick school system snapshot of some data, right? So in this large urban school system, we pulled data from their website, and it shows that students attending an urban high schools either scored at or above grade level. So it's 11% in ELA, 8.3% math, 10.3% in science. Now, in the chat, share with me, what is this school system's proficiency scores telling us about ELA, math, and science? What is it telling us? And let us know in the chat. Right, I agree. Most are below proficient. But this doesn't really tell us enough, right? So let's take a closer look at this data. And in this case, I'm going to take a closer look at math, right? What is happening with math here? And more specifically, maybe I want to focus on a grade level, right? So let's take a closer look at high school math to be more specific. So as you can see, the data split by levels. And based on the description of these levels, this is the data that we're finding about this high school, right? So level 1 is being identified as a student with minimal understanding of grade level standards that requires additional support. Level 2 is a student with a partial understanding of grade level standards that needs some additional support. Level 3 is a little bit better than level 2, strong understanding of grade level standards that demonstrates grade level appropriate knowledge and skills. Maybe they just need more time to practice those skills. And then you have level 4, a student with an advanced understanding of grade level standards that exceeds grade level knowledge and skills. So take a look at these performance indicators and then what the data is telling us about them for this particular high school. Now think, which level needs most support? And as you're thinking about which level needs most support, you're probably thinking about what other data we can use to flesh out this data set that we're using so far. Now, Yana, I don't know about you, but I have a few questions with this data, right? I would like to learn more about the math standards that students are having trouble understanding. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing. They may not have a concrete understanding of numbers, and struggling readers may not do well with word problems. Absolutely. I see this happen all the time, right? That's where that ELA component comes in math, right? There's always a huge struggle when it comes to homework time. And, when students are working on math word problems, maybe the issue isn't the operations, right? Maybe the issue is them comprehending what this math problem is asking them to do. All right. So as we're, putting this to practice, it'll be great for you to do this on your own with your own data, right? What piece of your data do you need to take a closer look at? What are some look fors that you should be considering as you take a look at data that's already pre-existing, or data that you are pulling from your program? All right. So another thing we need to do is think about our vision and mission, right? So whenever we're planning for an initiative, we need to select some priorities so that we can take a closer look at how our program can address it. So as we look at our organization's vision and mission, we're thinking about the guidelines around our decision-making process, right? We may be referencing our vision and how can we elevate the student achievement or our student outcomes. And of course, you want to use this to help your staff stay on the same page, right? If your program has a set vision and mission, this may influence what is a priority to you, right? Maybe your program isn't quite focused on math. Maybe it's ELA. Maybe you can somehow work out an activity where you can partner with another organization so that you both can address those needs while meeting and aligning with your vision and mission. So let's take a look at this example organization. So their mission is inspiring youth today, creating productive citizens tomorrow. And their vision is 21st Century Community Learning Center, strive to build and sustain out-of-school time learning opportunities that provide academically enriching youth development while engaging families to be active partners in their child's success. All right, let's think about it. What is this organization focused on, or what do they value more? And as we're thinking about their vision and their mission, we can also tie in some data that we saw previously, right? How should this program's mission and vision align with the students' needs that we saw from that data? Nice. Kathy shared academic enrichment and parent voice, right? They mentioned families in here, right? How can we get our students to be productive citizens tomorrow? Most, their families are already citizens in their community. How can we get them engaged? Engagement. Thank you, Annette, for sharing. Now, it'll be interesting to, hear more about what information you think that led this program to prioritize these areas, right? Sometimes we go back to our vision and mission and we have them there for a reason, right? We know our community enough to know what they need and how we can address them. Right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that. All right. So again, we're thinking about the priorities. So we've gathered data based on our look fors. So we need to prioritize all of that. And of course, we can't tackle everything all at once, maybe in the perfect world, but that isn't really the case for us here. There's only so much we can do in the amount of time that we have. So we need to be a little bit more selective and place our focus on 1 to 2 areas at most. And some of these things to consider when you are prioritizing your data or your needs is the highest need, right? Or highest leverage and how you can access those resources. So make sure this is something that can be attained by your program. All right, so now that we've spent some of our time with prioritizing our areas of needs, we are ready to jump into our continuous improvement cycle process. So within this process, we're going to spend most of our time on the define and implement with fidelity phase, and then the remaining steps is pretty straightforward when it comes to collecting, analyzing, and improving data. And I'm actually going to pass the torch to Yana, and she's going to take us, walk us through the next step, well, the first step, which is define.
Thanks, Shanika. So everyone, what Shanika has really taken us through is thinking about how we set up our program to make sure that we are then able to assess it and to make sure that we are creating a program that serves our students and continuously making our program better. But now that we are in the first step of the continuous improvement process, we want to think about some central questions that you should be able to answer about your program. And we're getting ready for that continuous improvement. So these are all questions that will help us think about what's working and where there is room for improvement. So some of the key questions that you consider are, what's the problem? What's the solution? How will I know my program is successful? What's my plan and what do I need? So what we see with these questions is we're thinking about what has gone well, what might we need to improve for the future. So with those questions in mind, we really want to zero in on the characteristics of our program and really make sure that we understand every element of our program design. So with that, we're ready to start thinking about how to use some great tools for designing our program and for defining our program. And luckily for all of you, Y4Y has some wonderful tools to help you with these. And like all of our tools, they're completely free and customizable. So you can download these and they are in the link that Shanika and I both shared earlier today. But really these tools are to help you identify what you want your program to accomplish, and to really help you identify some local resources in addition. And we really always want to make use of our local community assets whenever possible. I'm sure you all have great partners that are already doing important work in your program, but continuing to identify and form those essential partnerships are an important part of that continuous improvement process. Now, we also have tools and resources that you may consider for all the different dimensions of your program design, and we will highlight some of them through this presentation. But we would love to take you through just an example of how we define the problem in our program. I know we all probably have a lot of areas of success and a lot of areas for potential growth. We just want to highlight how you would do continuous improvement for one element of your program. So we're going to work together to complete this table. So to start off with, we would like to define the problem. So our problem in our program is that 80% of students don't demonstrate mastery on fractions and measurement. So we know that that's a problem. Those are essential math skills for our students. So our solution has to include exposing students to real-world math application and hands-on activities. So we know that it is really hard for our students to connect with and care about math if they don't see a real-world application of it. So we want to give them these hands-on opportunities so they see the real-world application and hopefully develop a greater interest in mathematics, in particular in fractions and measurement. So now we're going to work together to solve this challenge. And to start off with, we have to create a general plan of how we're going to address this challenge in our students, that our students are experiencing. So we would love to hear from you. If you have any ideas about how you would address this challenge in your students, that would be great. And what we're really looking for is we would love to really think about how we can engage our students. So what kind of club or activity can we provide our students that will be really engaging. We'd love to hear from you if any of your students have struggled with this topic. What kinds of activities are you using to get them engaged and excited? We would love to hear from you in the chat box. But as we're waiting for some of those ideas, we can let you know that the plan we came up with was to use a cooking club. So that's the thing that we often see with cooking, is that a lot of those activities that are embedded in cooking really have those same essential components that we've identified. Cooking involves a lot of measurement, fractions. If you're scaling up or scaling down a recipe, we have to be really precise. Oh, it sounds like some of you have tried cooking clubs. I've done them and kids absolutely love them. It's a blast for everyone. So that is us laying out a general plan. We generally want to host a cooking club for our students. And now we want to go through and create some more detail for our club. So for our club, we know that we want to have this cooking club, but what are we going to do in this cooking club? So to start off with, Hershey bar fractions work well for grades 3 to 5. Jacqueline, I love it. And that's not something I've done, but now it sounds like a lot of fun for both me and for my students. And I'm wondering how you can include even more math, like comparing different kinds of chocolate bars. So whether it's a regular Hershey's bar or a cookies and cream bar, and you can compare things like the mass and the density of those different kinds of chocolate bars. So that sounds like a lot of fun. I love that. So thank you, Jacqueline, for giving us that as a jumping off point. But so we're starting with that same data piece. We know that 80% of our students haven't mastered that fractions and measurement. In other words, 20% of them have mastered it. We want to create an activity where students will be participating in a cooking club. They're going to write a recipe. We create a general timeline that this club will take 2 times a week and for an hour each session. And this club will last for the entire program year. So if our program lasts for 40 weeks approximately, or maybe 36 weeks, somewhere in that neighborhood, students will have that every single week, 2 times a week. So we're giving students a lot of opportunities to practice recipe writing, to engage with this. We also want to make sure that we're able to assess the success of our program. So we're going to use a progress tool from our special education teacher. We have a relationship with the school day, and they have provided us with a really strong assessment tool. It's not a test, but an assessment tool to help us track student growth and student learning. And then we also know we want to set a target for our data. We want to set, this is what we would like to achieve. And our goal is for 80% of students to show an increase of 30% or more in the assessment, in their performance on this fractions assessment. We also need to assign a staff member. Hopefully you can find a staff member who's really excited about this. Maybe it's the site coordinator, maybe you have a facilitator or a frontline staff member who wants to take the lead. And we also have someone who will implement this activity, which will be the lead teacher in that program. So we have really laid out some details of this one activity, but we can do this with any number of activities to fit any number of challenges in our program. Again, we're just doing this in one example so that we can carry it through and see what it looks like from start to finish. So now we have our general plan. We want to make sure that we can align that with a SMART goal. Now you're all probably familiar with SMART goals. Those are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And our SMART goal in this case is that 80% of students who attend regularly will demonstrate an increase of 30 percentage points or more on the fractions and measurement assessment as measured by a fall pre-test and a spring post-test. So we have laid out how we're going to assess it. It is a measurable goal. It's specific. We know what students are going to need to do. We've set an attainable goal. It's realistic. It ties into what our students need, and it's time bound. It's going to take place over the course of the year. They're going to take those assessments in the fall and in the spring. So that is really taking us through from the planning phase to really setting out the details of this activity. And if you want more tips and more support in doing this, we have a great continuous improvement planner on our website. Again, in that documents and links sheet that Shanika and I have shared earlier, and I'm sharing it again right now so that you can all download that. Make use of this tool. Everything on our website is completely free. I love repeating that because it is such a great resource. I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's great. So once we have really set out those goals, we're ready to kind of wrap up this defining phase by really thinking through what we want to accomplish. Again, we have determined what the success will look like. We did that through our SMART goal, and success for us is that 80% of our students who regularly attend will demonstrate an increase of 30% on the fractions and measurement assessment. So with all of that in mind, we really need to just identify what are our needs going to be for this activity. So with any kind of activity, but really with, in particular with our cooking types of activities, we know that there are going to be a lot of supplies, a lot of preparation we need to implement our plan with fidelity. So that really will require us to make a list of the things we need, both supplies and resources, activity development. Do your staff need training on this topic? All of that will be essential for us to plan in advance, because as we all know, our programs are most successful when we are able to plan and design everything in advance so that we can minimize surprises and, prepare for any challenges. So once we've done all those steps, we have really defined our program, and we have a lot of resources, as we mentioned throughout this presentation, all the ones we've talked about and more to help you do this definition piece. But once we have defined our program, that's when we're ready to implement with fidelity. And implementing with fidelity is one of my favorite components of the continuous improvement process, because it's really essential. We can't measure any of our work accurately if we don't implement our programs as planned. And turns out there are 4 elements to implementing with fidelity. There's adherence, and really central to adherence is, are we sticking to the plan? We did all that defining and laying out a plan in the define phase. Are we sticking to it? Dosage is, how often are students participating in the activity? Are they getting enough time with this activity? So for example, if we said that students should get 1 hour of this activity twice a week for the whole school year, is that a sufficient dosage? Do they actually get that dosage as we've laid it out? Engagement, are students engaged? We know that students are going to learn best when they're interested, when they're having a good time, when they are having meaningful learning. So if our programs are not engaging for our students, then they're not going to be nearly as successful. Our students won't want to come back. So we can and should, as facilitators, emphasize the importance of keeping our students engaged, giving them a lot of fun opportunities to learn in our program. And finally, delivery. Is the facilitation implemented as it was intended? So we planned out that this is going to be an in-person, hands-on activity. Was it actually implemented in that way? And so one of the things that we know is that our implementation with fidelity might not always work out. Like we all saw with COVID-19, we had to switch to virtual learning, to social distancing. We had to make a lot of changes. So during that first year in particular of COVID, we probably didn't exactly implement with fidelity our program design, because it just wasn't possible because of that, really profound change in our program design. So we are aware of the fact that sometimes programs will not go quite as planned, whether it's something as huge as COVID-19 or something smaller, like maybe you ordered some supplies for a club and they're back ordered and they won't come in time for when you are planning to do that activity or do that project or start the club. So we know that sometimes we have to be flexible, we have to be ready to adjust, but we always want to refer back to these implementing with fidelity questions because we have to check in. And if things didn't go quite as planned, then it is probably expected, and it's the probable result will be that things aren't going to have the same results that we hoped for because we weren't able to deliver the program as laid out. But whenever possible, we want to stick with our plan. We want to maintain that adherence and check in throughout the implementation to make sure that we are sticking to the plan and developing and delivering the highest quality program that we can for our young people. And to do this, one essential element of implementing with fidelity is having your staff on board. Your staff are going to need support in order to implement with fidelity. So we would love to hear from you, thinking yourselves as program leaders, what do your staff need to implement plans successfully? And so thinking about what you already do to support your staff and maybe what additional support they may need in order to really implement the program as designed. And so that might include some additional staff training. That might include they need you to order supplies in a timely manner. That may include clear communication with the school day if they need any kind of shared resources or shared support. That might include that they need you to make those kind of structural plans of booking buses and organizing field trips, all of those elements. What do your staff need to implement the plan successfully, to implement your program successfully? We'd love to hear from you as you're thinking about what it takes from a leadership perspective to make sure that programs are implemented with fidelity. As you're thinking about that, we do want to highlight that we have many resources on the Y4Y website relating to staff training. Staff training is something we come back to a lot. We know that your programs will have a wide mix of employees, whether your staff are school day professionals or they don't have a formal background in education. Here at Y4Y, we have a lot of training and resources available for them. We would love for you to direct your staff to training and learning on our website, all on a wide variety of topics. And we would also encourage you to make use of other training resources. Now, on our website, everything is completely free. We have courses on a wide range of topics, from literacy to math to science to civic engagement. And all of these different courses include tools like some of the few that we've highlighted today, as well as activity ideas, training tools. We also have trainings to go if those are something you're not familiar with. If you are looking to do some in-house training, one of the things we do at Y4Y is create these trainings to go. And these are 40 minutes to 1 hour trainings that are PowerPoints, as well as any accompanying handouts and tools that you may need that you can download and lead with your own staff. Feel free to take off all our branding, claim you made it yourselves. This resource exists for you, so you can make use of that resource in order to really do that professional development in-house, and it doesn't require a lot of preparation from your end. So if you're not familiar with our trainings to go, please do check them out, and they accompany every course we have on our website. So every course will have some trainings to go that you can download, study them, and then use them with your staff immediately. So lots of those. Oh, and like Janika mentioned, all our tools are completely customizable. We also host regular webinars like these targeted webinars like this one today, but we also host webinars on a variety of topics. We have a quarterly live with Y for Y, where we interview and talk with experts in the field on all different topics. Our next live with Y for Y will be on March 9th, and it's going to be focused on math. And our guests will include a professor of math education and the former president of the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and so many other great guests upcoming in our webinars. So we hope you will check those out, keep track of them. They are on our website at y4y.ed.gov. Oh, it looks like, Jacqueline, I just want to answer your question quickly. So where you're asking about signing up for a training, it prompts you to answer some questions. So those are questions that you can just choose to skip. Those are optional questions, but it's asking if you are like a 21st century program, so you would be a licensed program. If all of your staff are certified teachers, then you would just select certified teacher for whatever the particular staff member is. But all of those questions really help to customize the website for you a little bit, but they are completely optional. So you can fill in whatever you would like to or not like to fill in. They're just to help inform us on your interests. Some of those, when you are filling out trainings for your state level, your state may also have some questions, and those questions are best directed to Annette and her team. But on the Y for Y website, those are just to help inform us on what you're interested in. So please, oh yes, if you do have any other questions, please let us know. We'd love to answer them, make sure that you're really clear and we can support you in any way. And so staff training can be a great place to support your staff, especially if you're trying to implement a new activity like a cooking club, where you want students to have a really fun, engaging opportunity, but none of your staff may have formal training as cooking educators. So bringing in some additional resources to support them is a great place to start. Now, as we implement our programs, we want to engage in the data collection process constantly. Now, the thing with collecting data is it takes a wide variety of forms. Now, data is something we probably most frequently think of as those high stakes state assessments that students take during the school year, during the school day. But those are not the only ways to collect data. And in fact, I would challenge you to think about data as really any kind of broad tool that you can use to just figure out how things are going. So that includes things like observation checklists, rubrics, student portfolios, yes, assessment, more standard assessments. All of those have the potential to be useful. But really, when we talk about that data collection, it shouldn't just happen once at the beginning and once at the end of the year. Data collection should be a continuous process that you're always engaged in, and you're always gathering information about how your program is going. Now, luckily, Y for Y has many observation and data collection tools on our website. We have a wide variety of staff observation tools. So if you're interested in observing and providing feedback to your staff on their quality of instruction, we have those resources available on our website. We have example rubrics for student projects that you can use to assess student learning. We have rubrics that we can use to assess our program design. Really, you name it, we've got it on our website. So please do feel free to check those out and find there's really tons of them. We've only shared a couple of them today, but please do check those out because they can provide a lot of great resources for you and your program. And like we've said already, they're fully customizable, so you can treat these as just a starting point for your program. So once we have collected all that data, we have to analyze it. Now, analyzing is where we make meaning out of the data that we have collected. It's really an important part where we really look at that data deeply, hopefully with our program team, and really trying to make sense of it. So find out, well, why are students struggling on fractions? Is it that they haven't had that instruction in school? Have we not reinforced it enough during our program time? So really making sure that you make meaning from that, because every goal of this analyze step is to improve our program design. It's the continuous improvement process, as we've mentioned before. It's all about making our program better for the future. Now, if you are new or not super comfortable with data yet, this is a great opportunity to reach out to relevant partners. You can reach out to your colleagues. Hopefully you have partners on your program team that can support you in making meaning and drawing conclusions. You can also reach out to your state leadership. We know that your state team are just wonderful, and they're always happy to engage in those conversations, help you think creatively about your data. Those are some great places to reach out to. If there are local universities, especially if there's a local education program, they will often have an evaluation program. And I know from my own experience that grad students in evaluation programs are always delighted to help school-based programs because they want to have hands-on practice looking at student data. Another place to check out is the American Evaluation Association. They offer free webinars and additional training. So if you are someone who you have lots of data, but you're really looking to dig into it a little more, there are some great resources available to learn more about data evaluation and analyzing that data. So just think about some of the potential resources. Again, really reaching out to people who can help you with that analysis, all with the goal of improving our program. And this is really the last phase, but this is the phase that we are always circling back to, because our goal is always to make our project, to make our program better. We want to take all the information that we have gathered, everything we know about our program, and make it better for next year, next cycle. So we have to ask ourselves some essential questions. So what did work? What do we want to tweak and refine for next time? Have we considered multiple views? So that's why it's so important to have a program team, because if you're the only person looking at a program, then you only have that one perspective. When we're able to bring in other voices and other perspectives, we can have a lot more diversity in our program implementation and hopefully create a better program for our students. That's why we love having those conversations with our staff, regular conversations with our program team, to really gather their advice and find out, what do you see as working? You can't be everywhere all at once, and a student might have a very different perspective on what's working in your program compared to the adults in your program. So just consider using some of those few resources that we've highlighted to inform this conversation. Oops, Shanika, it looks like we lost the PowerPoint for a second there. As Shanika is getting that back up, thanks, Shanika. I do want to give another plug for some of our resources on our website. Y4Y does have what's known as a click and go for continuous improvement. Now, our click and goes are sort of mini trainings. This covers between 40 minutes to an hour. It's a little bit of a shorter bite-sized learning on a topic, in this case, continuous improvement, where you can watch a little mini lesson, listen to some podcasts on applications, use some tools. And with all of these trainings, we have tons of tools on our websites. We also refer you to some great external resources if you're interested in learning more. And we also have an FAQ section to really help you understand the different topics in or the different elements of the continuous improvement process. We've done a bit of a taste of the resources on our website today, but there are so many more available. I can't emphasize enough, truly hundreds of them. So please do check them out. We also have a Learn More library for all of our subjects. So if you're interested in improving your math or your literacy or civic engagement or STEAM programs, and that is where we share high quality external resources that are always free. So we share examples, we share lesson plans, curricula, great websites to learn more about these topics. So we love to connect you to free resources that have already been vetted. We know they offer high quality information and they're totally free. Now with that in mind, we would love to just hear from you. Do you have a next step? Do you have something you're planning to do to either engage in or improve your continuous improvement process in your program? So we would love to hear from you. What is the next step you will be using? And if there's any support that you need to be successful, please do share that. Shanika and I, of course, are always happy to help, but your state leaders are here as well. So letting Annette and Erica and their team know about what you need is great, because they can see those messages and follow up with you, because our hope is to support you in continuing to implement and improve your programs over time. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat box. Shanika has also pasted into the chat box a link to our feedback form. It's just a couple of questions. It'll take you less than 2 minutes to fill out. We would love if you would just take a couple of minutes to fill that out. Tell us how we did. Let us know what you're interested in hearing about next. This really helps us to continuously improve. It is part of our own continuous improvement process. Also, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat box. We're happy to answer them or direct them to your state leaders who might be able to answer some more specific state questions as well. So Shanika, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box, but please do share them if anything comes up. But as we are coming to an end, we would love to let you know that you can always reach us at our website, y4y.ed.gov. You can also email us at y4yta@seiservices.com, and we will respond usually within 48 hours. So please do let us know if there's anything we can do to support you. If you are not yet super familiar with our website, please go create a free account, start to explore the hundreds of resources. I'm not sure if we've cracked 1,000 yet. It's definitely hundreds, but I don't think we've cracked 1,000 yet, Shanika. That should be our next goal. So please, again, take a click on our feedback form. Let us know how we did. Thank you all so much for being with us. We appreciate Annette inviting us. We love being with you all. And Shanika, it's great to be with you as always as well.
Same with you, Yana.
Thank you, Yana and Shanika. Apologize for being just a tad late. I do know today we had a number of people email me and say, you know, the kids are on sugar overload today, so I can't afford for one person to be on the Zoom because I need all hands on deck. But I also, everybody was like, will it be recorded? Will it be uploaded? So yes. Even though we had only around 20 people today, I had probably 30 emails of, I'm sorry I can't attend, I can't attend, but I want to listen. So thank you very much. And I know we had a conference last week, our ACEA conference, and we had tons of compliments on the professional development that's ongoing from you guys, and the collaboration with each other so that we make sure we're all serving the kids and the grant to the maximum. So thanks a lot. And we look forward to seeing y'all again next month.
Thank you.
Yes, we love being with you all. Thank you so much for having us. And like Annette mentioned, this is recorded. We will send you a copy of our slides and the documents and link sheet that we have shared in the chat box. But you will have easy access to all of those. We'll send those to Annette and she will disseminate them to all of you. So you always have access to us, and we will see you next month.
It sounds good. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.